Okay, that ought to be a bit of science again. We should probably recover these guys now. Now I wonder if I can now actually take off from this airfield, seeing as I made it to the desert airfield.
Oh, ah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Okay, let's run a TS06 stack separator test, because that is going to be a simple test. Now I think we're up to mission 15 now. Yep. Okay, let's see what that does then. And clearly this has different color thingies. Let's make it yellow. Okay, so this would be KSM 15 to stack separator. Okay. I'm just doing this mission because it pays the bills, right? Kerbals are expensive. Okay, so this is just, we've discovered an airfield in the desert. Desert, two S's. On Kerbin, extra, nice. Now that means that if we discover those pyramids that I flew over as well, we may earn something as well. So I'm going to make a mission and have a look at some of that too. Doesn't say it gives us money, but still. Okay, contract completed in, wait, is there a run test button for this thing? Nope. Ooh, that worked well. Okay, contract completed, excellent. Let's recover this thing. Great, extra funds.
Oh, ah. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
Yeah, let's just focus on the ones that we already have. So,
Uh-huh.
flying by the Mun is going to earn us 64,000 funds in total. So, split over advance and completion. And we need to test a parachute while also hauling radial mount drogue chutes. And this is at the same altitudes. So between 10 and 11,000 while going 182. Oh no, these are two separate things that need to happen. Also, we can't fail to do these within the next 425 in-game days. Yeah. I'm going to focus on space now, though. Space around Kerbin. And you know what I'm going to do? I am going to hang a... Wait, do we not actually have a satellite already in orbit? Well, gee whiz, we have one. Let's see how much juice is left in that thing. We still got a lot of battery power. That is good. Do we have any science instruments on this thing? In space high over Kerbin. That is so fascinating. I have apparently not broadcast this information yet. Well, let's just do that then. Okay. That ought to do it for now, because I think that actually completes our contract. Yep, good. I hope we get a contract like that more often. Does this thing have an alternator? I'm not sure, but she's gonna last for a while yet, I think. Okay. What is there to do at the Space Center right now? $231, that's not a lot. What's with these wedge-shaped containers anyway? Oh, of course, it's for base parts. Well, let's see what we can send to the moon then. It would be nice to have RCS for on the way. Is there any science stuff we can still do? For example, let's visit that monolith over there and see if anything science-y can be done with it. I'm just drive out an earlier design. Doesn't need to be a new mission. Just a ugly forwards roller. There we go. And of course, not you, but oh good, Valentina and Bill are back from being missing in action. I'm gonna have Bob drive this thing because he's the scientist. Now, there is a monolith not far from the base, and I am wondering, I just cannot for the life of me remember, if that monolith actually awards science when you do any science stuff near it. So without further ado, let's go for a little science drive. Now the area here is extremely flat, but it is still not a very safe place to drive this little vehicle. It would be nice if at some point I got some rover parts, so we wouldn't have this noise all the time. Maybe I should put together a chopper. I have the parts to make a chopper now. Why did I do that? Okay, so monolith's over there. Let's increase the speed just a little bit. 20 kph should be doable with no bumps. Just a slight correction to the right. Should net us exactly the monolith. Okay. Slightly closer, maybe. God, those are noisy. Okay. Okay, so the monolith does not necessarily do anything interesting for materials or mystery goo. Or temperature or any other sciencey bits. But perhaps Bob can get out and have a look at this thing. I keep getting a climb prompt. No, won't climb up very far. Alright, so how about we EVA report? Nope. Okay, in that case, we are going to plant a flag here. And we'll call it the KSC monolith. So, there. Now this will always be marked on my map in case I get lost. Okay, well, we should probably get back to base. Well, at least it didn't cost us anything. So, the moon. What's the limit? 130 and 140 tons. Can I get to the moon and back with those conditions? Let's see. Let's deal with the back part first. So we are gonna need parachutes. Okay, we are gonna need a heat shield. Small is good enough. Now in here we have personal parachute and a jetpack. Gonna be useful, sure. Now, of course, our Kerbal is going to need to survive up there as well, both on the way there and on the way back. So, what can we do to make that happen? They've got enough for 3 days, but 3 days is not enough. So let's see if we can. 3 days is enough for the journey back. So how about we integrate that stuff in the secondary part of the journey? So let's see, life support. Waste container. Supplies container. How much is that? A year, that's way too much. $35 days, that would be excellent. Okay, well, we're gonna have to put it on top of the ship because that means that they have, yep, space to store crap for 60 days. Okay. Still gonna keep it, you know, nice and sleek, so we can launch with no problems. We don't need mass comm gear because we have a pilot in there to do the work. Would be nice to have a secondary in there, but we only have 1-seater cockpits. Do we actually not have? We've got a 2-seater cockpit. Yep. Alright, let's try that again. This has heat shield built in. It only needs a parachute. It has a blader on it, right? Yep, 20. That ought to do it for a normal Kerbal re-entry. Utility, parachute. Alright, final stage, parachute. What's the weight differential? 0.74 versus 0.334. I'm going to assume that this is good enough, because we do have a bigger parachute. Will that fit? It looks terrible. Let's not do that. Okay. This weight shouldn't be a bother for the parachute, mostly, I think. Okay, also it's got its own separator, so this is basically a Soyuz ball. But how do we launch it? We don't have any shrouds yet. Can we get shrouds? I don't think we have the science for that yet. Lots of life support stuff. Engines, fuel, shrouds. Right, that would be 135 science. Now we've got a bunch of life support. You know what we need? Docking ports. And for that, we are going to need to upgrade a bunch of stuff. Lots of sciencey stuff that might be useful to have. But if I'm going to be launching stuff into space that needs to stay up there for a while, for example, a space station of some kind, we are going to need to invest in life support stuff, but especially the machinery that actually keeps stuff together. Alright, so we are going to need to make sure that we upgrade a bunch of stuff, and then we need to launch some of these things into orbit to make sure that we can have a space station that doesn't need to be resupplied all the time. Also, it's going to need to have habitat containers and stuff, and docking ports. Let's see. Docking or really docking? Let's advance science one row at a time. Maybe that's probably better. Right. So we want to get into space. And we have no shrouds. So we're gonna have to launch this thing the ugly way. What have we got? A couple of these. What kind of engines have we got? Something like that. Now, if we were in a vacuum, this would give us 3,000 meters per second. Excellent, good. That is more than enough to get to the moon, land, and back. But what if we do it like this? 2,000. Okay. Now, if we can have a pre-landing stage and have this be the landing stage, and then they can get back up using the... You can get off the moon and back to Kerbin using just this. And we're gonna have to do everything with batteries, so nothing's gonna stay on there for really long. Yeah, which means this is gonna need a battery compartment. This is gonna be a tough-ass thing to land on the moon and not have it fall over. Let's see what we can do. So, landing struts. There. Looks like a virus. Not high enough. Can we stretch these? Nope. Okay, imagine that this is the landing bit. Then we're gonna need to use some batteries to make sure that everything stays okay in there. And the life support stuff goes on there too, so... Life support. Supplies container. Oh no, wait, let's put those on top of this thing. So the supplies and the waste system go there. That way, at least they come back with us to Earth. Kerbin, they come back to Kerbin. We don't have any power inline stuff. This has how much electric charge? 400. That ought to be enough to get back to the Kerbin with. But this thing might need some more. Just 2. There we go. And you know what? Let's recess these into the boat a bit. So that you can see the batteries, but nothing else. Got it. How many parts so far? 12. Darn it. Okay, this engine only really works in a vacuum. So, next stage is our transfer stage. And our early landing stage as well. Braking stage, let's call it that. So that needs a T12 decoupler with a can we use a swivel for that? $60 kilonewtons. This thing weighs 4, so this would be a 1.25. Yeah, that'll do. Okay, so call that a transfer stage. Call that a landing stage. Call this a transfer and landing stage, maybe. Yep. Okay, so retract these. 1890, huh? It's enough for fine landing maneuvers and getting back to Kerbin. We don't have any lights yet. Also, the science stuff needs to be on this part of the rocket. It's gonna need a bay. The damn thing is getting taller and taller. Okay, so three science bits. We'll forego the science junior because it's yet another big inline thing, plus we are already so close to the part limit. Thrust to weight is not enough for this thing unless it is already in space, but it's a transfer booster. It only is designed to do 1,000 and it should need only about 800 to get me to the moon. Now, what's next? Another decoupler, TD12, and engine plates, nah. Okay, 1, 2. There we go. Now we are going to need 3,700 to get out of Kerbal atmosphere, or at least to get a nice little orbit going. I noticed that I'm hiding some stuff by sitting where I am. There we go. There, that ought to unhide some stuff. So, what do we hang under there that's an efficient takeoff engine? Because this has an ISP of 85 in atmosphere. Wow. Okay, this is a... Okay, this is my most economical booster. And it only does 1,076. Can I hang... Wait, what is the thrust to weight ratio on this thing? This is a 205, which means it can lift about 20 tons. We need more of these. It's time to consider big rocket boosters. So we have space for 7 more parts, which means we need decouplers. So let's do this with 2. Two boosters. Just a little lower so that they get ejected in the right direction. There. And those need aerodynamic caps, which we have, and then we have room for one more part Wow. Um, okay, how much power in these? Can't be shut down, obviously. So these do 250 at launch. That gives me a... Ah, bugger. No control fins. No, if I replace this engine with a swivel, and I can use the swivel just for steering, and I can have one more extra tank to make it better. There. So, boosters go on with this engine. It's 23, but I'm not actually going to use this engine at full burn. Okay, now let's hang these slightly lower. Okay. And we're going to test a moonshot. This thing costs 15k. Okay. Now, if we need to abort, I can just right-click this thing and say launch or something like that. But I don't have an abort button system yet, so they have enough air, only not enough electricity. Oh dear. 600 is not enough for a couple days? Yeah, it is. Sure it is. It's gotta be. Doesn't it? Can't hang any more on them, and if it turns out that it's not enough, we can just turn on the booster, generate a little bit more power, store it in the batteries, and hopefully not die. This is going to be a mission for... Jeb has already done a lot of this kind of flying, but we need a scientist so that we can do multiple experiments on the mystery goo thing. No, yeah, mystery goo. And these both deserve to get their 1-star rating. Sorry, Bill, you're coming along on the next mission. I hope. Let's just hope these two both survive. We should have a quick test of the survival systems. So, if I right-click this and say decouple, that is my safety system. Right. Now, I'm going to throttle up the little engine at the bottom to about 10%, 20%, 10%-ish. And when I push the button, we are going to see this thing go up and hopefully turn to the right as we want it to. Now, Valentina, your job is to keep the whole thing steady. I want my details on here. Okay. Oh, I forgot to set these to minimum required power. Well, this is a test anyway, so let's see how far we get with that test. Let's go. 3, 2, 1, activate. Okay. I got it pushed to the right. Don't know why it's going left. It's probably because my steering engine is not putting out enough power. So I'm gonna have to burn it. That is too bad. I really wanted this to go smoothly. Yeah, okay, this thing's out of control. Kill the burn. And let's just go ahead and decouple this and then run the test. Oh, no, this is not one thing that I need to test. I'll deploy the chute when we're low enough. Where is the booster? Where did it fly off to? Right there. Okay. So I guess this is going to be our parachute test, right? Let's keep it at a controlled speed by having the drogue out for a bit. Well, that has been a bit of a money waster. Rather sad, but hey, what do you do? Wait, did any parts survive that? Okay, at about 1K we should get a good parachute, and snap right there. And we are fairly close to the KSC. We got some, no, those are too far away. We got some parts that survived, which is good, because then we can at least recover those. I wonder what that thing is. It's too far away to control. Imagine having to sit in this and just hope that everything is going to be fine. Now, clearly, I'd made a mistake in creating this rocket the way I did, and that mistake has probably been due to the weight distribution. Okay, good. At least we know that this thing can land safely with this parachute, and we didn't lose any lives. That is the best. At least we don't need any space in the Hall of Memorials just yet. Let's try something else. Let's see if we can build a helicopter. We need to do some more science. Grab some more parts that are really up to par for the launch that we want to get in there. What is this? Yeah. Oh yeah, of course. We wanted to take this first real plane thing. Who's flying? Jib, and you know what? Let's bring Bill this time. Or Elgard. We need to get some experience into these scientists. No. Bill is needed. Yep. Alright. So, let's launch from the... Wait, why can't we use the... No! I wanted to launch from the desert airfield. Oh, if I'd known this, I wouldn't have recovered those guys. Okay, well, I don't have the time to do it during the stream now. Also, the incessant noise in this craft is unpleasant. Did I get any messages about that monolith, by the way? I don't think I did. Okay, we need a moon flyby. Oh yeah, planted the first flag. Yes, excellent. That gave me money, but not enough because how much do we have? 22. Yes, that's enough. Not enough to upgrade one of these. We have upgraded this. And I really do want to have action groups, especially in my rockets, because they get tedious. Oh, recover. We had some parts over there too, I think. Yep. Recover, 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 recover. Recover some more. Ooh, 225. It's too bad that otherwise I still wouldn't have actually any. You know what? Maybe I can have a fundraising campaign of some kind. Cost me some rep. Yields funds for each reputation bit. Yeah, we can't afford to waste science. Oh, this is actually a good way to get a bunch of money while spending only a little bit of science. And we can have a similar thing with reputation, but right now we are basically doing well, so let's not do that. I'm going to sell out some research. Wait. Oh, I thought they were going to give me 72,000 funds, but it's 72 funds. Well, shoot. That really doesn't do anything useful. Okay, let's do a fundraising campaign. Let's see how much commitment we can give to that. I don't really need reputation that badly. This is much better. Okay. Okay, well, I guess we're gonna have to do missions to get money. So, ferry to suborbital spaceflight. That looks really dangerous. But if we do it with a probe core, well, that ought to make me enough money for another moonshot. This I can't actually do, so this is too dangerous for what it brings me. Yeah, not doing that yet. Okay, so I need to haul a radial mount drogue chute into flight above Kerbin, which I can do by just simply sticking it on that plane. And this is fine in terms of the speeds that I need to fly. Plus this also gives me science and it gives me money. So I'm going to do a quick flight with that plane. And then I'm going to land it and then I'm going to park it in water. This one is just a bit too complicated to do right now. So I'm going to do a two-part mission. First I'm going to fly, then I'm going to land. And that two-part mission is going to be done with my KSM-14, which I'm going to save as, is it 16 now? 17. The wet drogue chute test. Okay. Now let's see, do we have room for one part? Yes, that's good. So we're going to stick a drogue chute on there. No, that's a utility. Drogue chute. That is what we need to test. Stick it on there. Missions. Radial mount. Just bring it there, do nothing. Okay, fine. And then we need to test a Mark 1 inline cockpit splashdown at Kerbin. So we need to roll it off the runway and then dunk it in the water. Who gets to fly this dangerous mission? You know what? I think we get to... Let's dress the astronauts differently depending on their jobs. So Bill is gonna have a nice blue suit, and Bob is gonna have a nice gray-yellow suit, and that means that Elgard is getting a gray-yellow suit. There we go. Good. This is clear. These. Yep, definitely giving him this. Okay, so Bob and Elgard get these slightly different faceplates, and the pilots get orange, and they get scientists get yellow and white. All right, good. No, wait. Engineers are supposed to get yellow, whereas scientists are supposed to get blue. That's a Star Trek rule. Okay. Now, who flies this thing? Jeb gets to be the pilot, in this case, accompanied by Elgard. I hope they don't crash, because then Elgard's gonna die. Okay. Now, I have successfully landed this craft twice now. See how it does tonight. Taking off the brakes. Max Q. Okay, 130 to go up. Now, Jeb needs to take this thing up to about 3,000 meters, and then drop the speed to below 200 or something. Okay, mission complete. Good. Now I'm gonna go and take a... Whoops. Turn on precision steering for a bit. Now we need to land carefully and then roll this thing into the water. So I'm circling her down, just keeping the throttle really low, deploying the gear. I'd like to come in from the other side of the airfield. Generally speaking, with a craft that is as badly maneuverable as this one, it's probably wise to make sure that we have a lot of maneuvering room. So I'm going to take a wide turn back to the airport. Wide. Really wide. Also, hopefully one that doesn't bring us down too far. And also one that is going to slow us down enough that I can land with a almost closed throttle. See if I can line her up with the runway. Looks like it's working-ish. Give a slight kick to the rudder. brakes. Cut the engine. Oh shit, that's a hump. I think I've lost a part that is not entirely required. Okay. Good. What is it they say? Any landing you walk away from is a good landing? Oh, we lost a big part, but it wasn't an essential part to the last bit of the mission. I keep forgetting that the runway is slightly higher than the grass it's on. Maybe it'll be a little bit clearer when I actually upgrade this to be more than just a bunch of sand. Anything to report? Nope. Okay. Incidentally, 30 meters a second is about 3.6 is about 100 kilometers an hour, so we are going rather fast. We'll brake us a little as we end our run on the runway. Because we don't want to hit it more than maybe 5 meters a second or something. And we still have a ways to go downstairs. So let's take it nice and quiet. In fact, I think we can dispense with these now. And there goes the fuel tank anyway. I'm happy that the Kerbals aboard are still safe-ish. Even though we've lost part of the plane, which is sad because everything I can't retrieve is going to cost me some of those funds I'm winning with this. But hey, no use crying over spilled Kerbals. And there's still some stuff lying around there. I think it might actually be the drogue chute we tested. Okay, so we are going to hit the water at a very, very controlled speed. But not so slowly that we don't hit the water with the entire craft. There we go. Let's up the gear because we don't need it here. Okay, now we need to test this cockpit. And we've secured another contract. Very good. Let's pick it up. There we go. Now, we didn't actually gather any science, but we did get a lot of money for this, which is good, because now we're at 259, and that is what we need. And Elgard is about halfway to his first level, which is another thing we need. And did we leave some debris lying around somewhere? No, I think we picked it up, actually. Probably because we didn't separate from it. It just blew up when we hit it with the tail. Okay, so that means that now we should have two fewer quests, and both of these. This is actually a tough window to hit, but it gives us a shitload of money. So how about we see if we can get a Mark 16 parachute up to about 10,000 meters at a slow speed with one of our earlier rockets. Just so we have some more funds should we miss the moon this time around. We are going to use one of our early designs in this. Let's see, what got up to about 10,000 meters? Did this thing get up to 10,000? I don't think it did. I think this one might have. Alright, We're going to call this the KSM, what was the last one, 16? No, I think the last one was 17. So this is the KSM 18. And we will call it the shoot test. A simple up and down rocket that must reach 12,000 meters and come to stand still around that altitude for a shoot test. Now, this is a difficult mission because it's very hard to control your speed. So I'm going to dump all the gear I don't actually need. We have this booster sending us up. We have this boost, okay. And we can't control this thing, we just turn it on and off, right? So if we miss in this mission, we just recover the whole thing and try again. It only costs us 3.5k. This thing should be able to help us control our speed a bit. So I can turn this, need a pilot that can do retrograde steering. All right. Also, I may want to limit the thrust in this thing. Okay. Let's just launch this thing first and see how high it gets, and then we can look at other attempts. This might actually be all we need. I think we could even calculate this, because if this thing has a 800 meters a second, afterwards we'll try that. For now, let's launch it first. Okay, keep it straight up. Godspeed, good luck. Now let's see what it says here about our apoapsis. It's going to overshoot, I can already tell that. It's going to overshoot wildly. But what we could do, because this thing is going to slow down a bit, right, for a while. Let's look at the mission parameters, right? The altitude is fine right now, but no longer. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to try and separate this thing. Engine is currently off. Now we're slowing down. Let's see if we can break it back to about 130. And next time I'm going to cut about half of the fuel out of the early booster. That ought to fix our problem already. Because clearly we need less. Now this rocket has 507 meters squared. So if I use it at the right time, I should be able to slow us down by more than enough. How about we try now? Okay, almost there. This is actually probably going to work. So there we go. Slow it down just a little bit more. And deploy. No! Did it not work? Of course, I should have used the staging system. fork. Well, if at first you don't succeed, try again, and try not to drop anything on the Kerbal Space Station. That, in fact, looks like it's going to land on the Kerbal Space Center. I hope that didn't damage anything important. Is the sun coming up yet? No. Next mission, I'm going to wait for the sun to be up. Now, net gain for this mission should be about 30,000, right? So it shouldn't be too hard. We should be able to figure this out. I'm going to try the same mission again. Just tone down the amount of delta V that the first booster is going to give us to about half, because it gave us 25 kilometers in altitude. So if we tone it down to about half the power, it should give us 12 kilometers in altitude. I hope. I wonder which part that is. We'll probably never know. Okay, here we are again. And that cost me about half of the money I spent on it. Let's try that again. This time, reduce it to about half the delta V of the initial booster. Slightly under, because we also have the liquid fuel booster. Okay, let's try that again. Jeb, you ready? Yep, good. Now, the initial solid booster should take us up to about 10k in altitude, hopefully with the prerequisite speed that we need for the chute. Swap out the chute and the switcher. Our apoapsis is 5 kilometers. Okay, so now we can actually control that. Set it to about 12. There, and we have some leftovers so that we can do some more steering later if we want. Now it needs to be between 60 and 130. We are in the zone now, which means we should deploy now. Mission accomplished. Now let's see if we can land the whole thing. In that case, we only pay the booster. And let's make sure this thing unfolds slightly higher because we are slightly heavier. We still have a shitload of fuel on board. And I hope that didn't land on anything important. Wait, what? Oh, great. Goodbye, Jeb. So apparently my parachute just got destroyed. And I don't know why, because it was deployed at a safe speed. Maybe I should have braked a little bit more. I don't know. Maybe I should have had a backup. Bah. It's probably because my ship was too heavy. Therefore accelerated faster because it overcame the wind resistance more. And it basically broke my chute. Well, the great thing about Jebediah is that whenever he dies, he at least comes back at some point. So we should just go back to the Space Center and not mourn him too long. He's just missing in action. He's like a Spartan. Spartans that don't die, they just go missing in action. Right. Anyway, we now have 284 funds. And there's a VIP who wants a nice space odyssey. He's going to pay us for that. Just for a suborbital flight, huh? That we can do, and it's good for the rep. So let's do that. This is too hard to aim for. We're not sending anybody into orbit. We're not hauling a booster or testing a splashdown engine. We're not sending anything out of Kerbin. Right. LY-35 medium landing gear. Do we have that already? Ooh, I'm happy I didn't say yes to that. Okay, so we want a suborbital flight. Suborbital flight, meaning that we probably need to go up to 70 kilometers, at least in height. That means we are going to be using the KSM-12, which is enough to get us into a suborbital flight. Except we're going to call it the KSM-19. Yep. And we say the suborbital tourist. Now that means that we are going to need to fit. Can we do that? I think we might be able to actually. Yeah, if we take all the science gear off, because this is the initial launch stuff, right? Yeah, we use those to maneuver. We don't need any of the science gear. So that goes there. No, of course not, because then that can't return. Sheesh. Okay, now that ought to be more than enough for a suborbital flight. And then we recover only the pod, but this costs me 8 in investment, and how much does that mission pay us? Doesn't say here. No, this is too risky. We need a 2-people cockpit. No, KSM-19 is scrapped. I'm going to do something else for KSM-19. Exactly what? I don't know yet.
Aha!
Something that gives me a bunch of science. Ferry VIP safely to his destinations and back. Now what else do we have? Temperature study, all shit somewhere. Nope. Yeah, totally nope.
Aha!
Okay, I gotta do this within 4 Kerbal years. Well, that ought to be more than enough. So first, I need to send people to the Mun, because that is where the science is to be had. Now, if I upgrade this building, that gives me 60k to work with, and much less of a part limit. In fact, I can do 255 parts now. So I'm gonna just delete the KSM19 we made early. We didn't even save that one. Good. So KSM19 is totally scrapped, and we shall call her the Moon Flyby. And okay, so we're going to be using a P reentry module because that is a 2-person seat. Maybe we can even see if we can just take the other one that we made. Is that a good idea? No, it's not a good idea. The MUN test was not a success. But you know what? We can actually take this and improve it. Because our problem was the part limit. So 19, the MUN test. Attempt number 2. So what went wrong? What went wrong is that we were using solid boosters, but we had no good steering. And that is going to be solved now because we can do this now. And of course we need to make sure we stick these somewhere where they don't get in the way of the steering, so they go, yeah, they definitely don't go quadruple, they go double. There. Now that ought to already fix a lot of our problems, because now it's going to be steerable at the back end. I only just realized that this thing has no reaction wheels, which would be a massive problem in space. So what kind of control do we have? We already have a scriptable control system. I can use this to fly the whole mission. Erg. Okay, these instruments are going to take measurements around the moon somewhere. We need to send a scientist and a pilot. I'm gonna go for Bob and Valentina. Not, yes, in that specific order, because Bob is the scientist and Valentina is the pilot with good mission gear. Obviously, these are the best people we have for the job, and obviously this is the best vehicle we have to give this guy a flight at some point too. But for now, I'm not gonna test chaos yet, not yet. But at least now we have action groups, which is good. So we have a button that we can push to trigger all of our sciencey bits. So custom one. Log temperature. Observe mystery goo. Log pressure data. And we can actually move those batteries into this bay as well now. There. That should be enough, I hope, but we'll see. No, we need far more power for this. Darn it. Power is our problem here. Can we make more power? Well, yeah, we can put a whole bunch more batteries in here, but can we find a way to create power on the way? We need solar panels. I don't think we can do this yet. I'm gonna save it, but not launch it yet. I need more science. How can I get more science? Okay, so the thing that gives the most science is the material study. So I should probably launch one of those things into space. And then return it. And I should send it high above Kerbin. And then possibly to the moon. But it's going to require much more battery power. What a conundrum we've created here. What other science gear can I unlock? So, under electrics we have some probe core stuff. Lights. Power unit. Okay, so this is the power unit for set-upable stuff. This needs a central station. I need to be able to do soil samples. And to do surface samples, which will definitely let me do a lot of science on Kerbin, I'm going to need a buttload of money. Crap. Okay, buttloads of money, huh? How do I even get going so fast? We're gonna have to do this one. And what else gives us a lot of money? Haul a solid fuel booster into flight above Kerbin. Well, I guess we can do that. To get it up to that altitude, we already know we need to have about 400 meters per second squared. So we can just adapt something else. And for these two, we are going to build a horrible, terrible monstrosity of a vehicle. That is nonetheless going to be completely recoverable and also going to test some stuff without putting anybody at serious risk. Okay, let's start with the last two. No? Let's start with the solid fuel booster, actually. So I want to keep this one under wraps for a bit, make a new one. Call it the KSM 20 solid booster haul. Heaven knows what's going to happen during that test, so let's take it. Let's do that without sending a pilot along. So we need one of these, a Stayputnik. We already know that getting up to about 10k. What is the mission parameter again? Between 9 and 15,000, 30 to 140 meters per second. That is entirely doable. We actually did that on a previous mission. Now, the thing that we need to do is use a flea. This is the flea. Do we have a nice little structural adapter for that? That is too big. That is too big. That is exactly perfect. Let's take out all the fuel of this thing. Okay, so this is what we want to send into the sky. And this is the thing that needs to be tested. And we only need to haul it. We don't even need to fire it. We just need to make sure that it gets there. Okay. To hit that target precisely, we need to set up another booster. And it is going to be a hammer. Now, that has too much oomph. It's going to be a flea. Yep. Can we calculate this? Probably not. So I'm going to dial back the fuel to get it to about 500 meters a second. Last mission we had 400 and we just missed it. No, we actually hit. We only went to about 500 meters. So let's do it this way. Now that flea isn't enough, then we'll deal with that problem when we get there. Also, I want to spend as little money on this as possible, so we're going to be parachuting this down. But we need two. There. Now, the second booster is never going to be ignited, so that means we will do about this and nothing more. And if it crashes, well, it costs me 2,000. Whereas if it works, I don't know what happens if it works, we'll see. Now, we don't have the luxury of... Oh yeah, we don't have the luxury of... That's exactly something we need to do. I need to bring it back to the assembling building because I need a couple of fins. We have nothing to steer this with. What is the smallest steering thing that I have? What is the cheapest thing that I have? 600, 640, 25. There we go. So we spend about 100 on fins. This ought to go straight up and then straight down again. And if not, well, again, it's no biggie. Let's see what happens. Set it straight up. Let's see what the telemetry says. Oh, we're not hitting that mark. That is so bad. Well, let's see if we can land the whole thing then. Nothing steerable. Nope. Okay, so including wind resistance, that got us up to about 7,000, which means we need about 100 meters per second more. And let's deploy the chute on time this time, just to make sure that that thing doesn't fall down and actually rip the chutes off. So instead of using a flea, we're going to be using a hammer next time. And we're going to set it to 650. Let's break. Hello, Arian. Okay, well, this is not necessarily a super successful mission, but it's also not a mission in which I actually destroyed anything. No parts of this rocket were lost. Cost me basically zip, which is good. But we have also learned now that we need to make sure that we launch this thing different. Why do fathers get an extra pair of socks when they go golfing? I honestly have no idea. Why do fathers take an extra pair of socks when they go golfing? I guess they get a hole in one. Oh, okay, that's funny. Okay, so that mission basically cost me nothing, but we need to revamp it a bit and get it to 600, let's say 650. Yeah, you know what? Let's go totally overboard. Let's make it 700 meters per second. So we get a slightly bigger booster. Stick the fins back up. Well, I think you're doing pretty well with the Ys, in all honesty. Okay, so there's a... Okay, this one is too much, so I can reduce that to 700. That ought to bring it to where I need it to go, which is 9,000 meters or higher at a relatively slow speed. Mission says 9,000 meters to 1,500 meters, somewhere between 30 and 140 meters a second. I think this will do. Now, of course, it's a different one, so we're going to call it the attempt number 2. And of course, no Kerbals are going to be hurt in the production of this video. At least not in this specific launch. Okay, let's have a look. So we've got parachutes to bring the whole thing back down. We need to haul this thing up to that air, and this is the engine we're actively going to be using. We have got 150 more meters per second squared. This ought to do things nicely. Let's see what it does. So mission parameters. And telemetry says that we are going to go too high this time. But we may actually slow down enough to get in the window. Looks like it. Let's see what it does. Are we going to slow down to under 140 before we hit 15,000? I am quite sure we are. Unless we have too much lateral speed. Let's see. And... yes! Mission accomplished. Excellent. Okay. Next stop, we need to start sending tourists into space. Thank you. I am super satisfied with this mission. Now I need to make sure that I deploy the parachutes early enough so that they don't get ripped off on the way down, because this thing is actually missile shaped, so it doesn't have a lot of air resistance. Yep. Oh, that was not what I was supposed to do. Well, too bad. We are not going to get that booster back, and I hope it doesn't fall on us while we're on the way down, because we are decelerating a little bit, and the booster is not. It is, in fact, right there. And it is actually slowing down more than we are, which is odd. Or maybe it's accelerating in a different direction or something. We'll see where it goes. I hope it doesn't land exactly on us. There is a bit of a chance that it might. Oh, now let's see what it does. There it goes. Flew right by us and is going to land on the roof. Oh no! That's going to leave a scratch. Hey, I wonder if I'm going to land on the roof of the vehicle assembly building. If I land on the roof of the vehicle assembly building, then maybe I can do some science. I can't, because there's nobody on board with no science instruments. Bleh. Maybe I'll get some points for landing on the VAB anyway. Okay, so this mission netted me about 1900 funds, and a bit of rep and a bit of science. Am I gonna land actually on the H? Because that would be amazing. I've never accidentally landed on a helipad before. Shit, that is so cool. Okay, well, that has been a successful mission, netting me 19k, costing me 2k just about. Let's see how much of that I'm recovering as well. 1,500. All right, so I've lost about 500 funds, so that is net total good. I can't remember a Krebs joke. No. Let's see. So you're careful not to overuse your jokes now, right? What was I doing? Oh yeah, I need 451,000 plus the amount I need to send a rocket to the moon. So what is the next mission we're gonna do? Yeah, this is free money. I'm gonna use that. This is 2 missions. You crack me up. Okay, so the VIP needs to go into space and come back. Meaning that I get about 12, about 15, and there was no pay ahead. So I'm doing this for rep mostly. But rep means I get better missions. So, okay, sure. I'm going to do that anyway. But no real science missions. And I need to test that landing gear in orbit. I don't know why I need to test it in orbit, but I need to. And I need to do the monstrosities. Okay. Let's do the suborbital first. Now, you know what? I'm gonna make him wait until we have space planes. We are gonna build a horrible monster to test a few engines. That's what we're gonna do. So there is a LVT-45 swivel and a skipper. Oh Jesus, the skipper is huge. Okay, and the swivel. So these two need to be brought to the water, splashed down, and then turned on. It doesn't say they need to have fuel. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna bolt these two onto something that'll roll. And for that, yeah, this is a normal size engine, this is a big sized engine, but there's also huge, mongousely sized engines. They're just not in here right now. So I'm gonna just go and make the KSM mission 22 the wet engine test. We'll drop a skipper and what was the other one? Swivel in the ocean and turn them on. Nothing bad could possibly happen after that. Again, this doesn't need a Kerbal to actually escort it, so this is going to be another unmanned, meaning we're going to be using a probe core. The Stay Putnik strikes again. Now, if we have a Stay Putnik, we need a means to get it rolling. We don't have powered wheels yet, I think. Nope, just retractable and steerable. No, let's try to keep the Kerbal deaths to a minimum. I've actually had 2 little incidents today where 2 of my Kerbals have gone missing in action. Well, 3 of them actually. Jebediah is currently missing in action. Valentina and Bob have already come back from being missing in action, so that's already good. That's the great thing about sending your real heroes on the mission. If they're real heroes, they come back. They're like the Spartans from Halo, right? The Spartans from Halo, they don't die, they only go missing in action. Now, I can actually use this experimental part as well. Big wheels, right? So that's going to be useful. I had a great connector for this. I'm going to use the same body I used for the probe earlier. Crap, can I mount those engines in any other way than at the end of a... Shit. No, I apparently can't. Well, it's going to be have to be two different runs, I'm afraid. Or can I do anything even remotely workable for this situation? Sure I can. Yep, I've already figured out how I'm going to do it. It is going to be brilliant and amazing. Okay, so first of all, we have fuel in there, so we just need some structural fuselage. Yeah, I could do exactly that, yeah. The idea actually in this case is to create... Ooh, that's much too big. To create something like this, where we have two engines basically standing up on the top of this object. And we are also going to have a couple of these sticking out of the sides like this, but also mirrored on both sides. So we have them like this, and we have them like that. There we go. Now under those are going to be wheels. And those wheels are going to be there and there. Now I need to be able to steer this thing, so these are going to be steering enabled and these are not. I may have to steer them, no, because these are automatically going to steer the correct direction. So this is high on its wheels, which is going to be a boon because we are going to have a problem later on otherwise. And we need something to push this thing forward. I don't have any electric car engines yet, so this is going to have to be a turbofan jet engine, which is going to be noisy. I have to apologize. Yeah, it does, because see, right there, enabled, and right there, disabled. It's a mirrored system. Now, I wish I could already test it a bit, just push A and D and see if the wheels could turn left or right, but I can only do that on the runway. Now, the things that we need to test are the swivel, there, and the skipper. Now, this thing is going to be almost ridiculously top heavy. There. What could possibly go wrong with this? I have no idea. We are going to find out, I'm afraid. So, now in the meanwhile, I'm going to put the back brakes on slightly heavier than the front brakes, just so that they don't totally flip the thing if it drives. I need to make sure that I don't trigger these two yet. So I should have done that in my normal stage design, but obviously I was stupid. Which is actually a factor in this game. If you hire Kerbals, then they are going to be brave and stupid. And the braver and stupider they are, the better they are. So I have a run test button on this, and I have a run test button on that. Good. Now, sorry about the noise. Jet engines are somewhat noisy in this game. And obviously, I should have considered the fact that air-breathing engines need air intakes. Let me try that again. Instead of recovering this vessel, I'm going to just revert it to the spaceplane hangar. Save some clicks. Okay, so to be able to run an airplane, you want to obviously have air intakes. Yes, this should have been completely intelligible for me. But apparently I was not in a very intelligent mood. Now this is going to be at the back, so another little weight saving issue in the front so it doesn't flip over. Also that way the air goes directly into the engine, even though the game doesn't actually take that into account at all. I still want to build a nice a P-51 because they have air intakes like these. Also F-16s, I think they also have them like that. Right, I may have accidentally turned on 2 rocket engines that I am now going to shut down again. There we go. And let's just... there. Oh, it runs longer now, I'm totally sure. The biggest thing to think about now is that we should probably ensure that it doesn't run off the runway at too high a speed. You see, if that happens, then the whole thing is going to flip over, which is why I'm braking mostly with the back wheels. And I'm trying to steer as little as possible. So, for those of you not knowledgeable about Kerbal Space Program much, this is the Kerbal Space Center. I have upgraded this building and the launch pad and the astronaut complex, I think. So we can do EVAs. Ooh, we're running off the runway as I speak. Steering is working well. Just tapping the keys just to make sure that we don't literally fall off the runway or fall over with our huge giant heavy skipper engine mounted above this thing. In Kerbal Space Program there is no speed that I would consider safe, but I generally try to stay around 20 meters per second whenever I'm traveling in a steady line and I know there isn't going to be a bump. Now that means I'm going to need to push the brakes a little bit in a bit because I don't want to hit the bump that we're about to hit at more than about 5. Make a quick calculation, you'll note that 20 meters a second is 72 kilometers an hour or so. Imagine what happens if you hit a speed bump at 72 kilometers an hour. Okay, there's another bump. There we go. Okay. So now all we gotta do is run this thing into the water in a controlled and safe speed. Notice we are going downhill, so I need to make sure that we don't jump or anything. Jumping can be a catastrophe, and I don't even need this engine anymore right now because gravity is going to do the rest. Lovely quiet. I'm going to look for a mod that makes the jet engines give a more pleasant sound. Lovely and controlled. Very good. Okay, now we need to run the test on these 2 engines. Test number 1, run. Excellent, much money. Run test number 2. Excellent, much more money. So that little journey has just netted us over 30,000 funds. And we didn't even actually spend anything on it because this entire thing is going to be recovered for just about the exact cost of me buying it because it's so close to the base. And then a bunch of Kerbals with towels are going to dry the whole thing off and then we can just use it again. So I'm up to 150,000 of my 451,000 goal. Linux Guru Gamers mod for that sort of thing. For the engine noise, yeah. I'm gonna look for that. Thanks, Linux Guru Gamers. I'm gonna write that, put that in my little notepad thingy. So at some point, I Yeah, by the way, hi TN Longfellow. At some point, I had this mod, and I hadn't played the game in a while, or I hadn't gone into space for a while. I don't remember, but I had this mod that replaced the sound of RCS jets, the maneuvering jets. It changed it to fart noises. So I had completely forgotten that I had that mod at all. So at some point, I just got back into the game after a bunch of months, and then I launched something up into space, and I was maneuvering, and I was like, "What am I hearing? What?" And every time I tap one of the maneuvering jets, it's like, and they had a shocking variety of different fart sounds, which was actually quite funny. Right. So I need another 300,000 funds plus change for building more rockets.
Oh, ah.
Let's see. This one wants a suborbital spaceflight and an orbit. Huh. But I have 4 years, right? Good. Okay. Yeah. I forget where I think I got it on Curse. I don't remember exactly where. It has been years since I even got in that situation. So I'm getting a lot of tourist missions. And they all want orbits. Let's see what I still have in active. So if I can fly by the moon, right? What's the best thing about Switzerland? That is a really good question. I'm sure you have a very interesting answer to that one. Okay, yep, definitely the flag is a big plus. Okay, you know what? We're going to send something flying by the moon, right? It doesn't even have to be a... yeah, thing you need to know about Arian T and Longfellow, it's that he's always telling jokes. So basically anytime Arian comes in with a question of some kind, it's usually a joke. He's probably going to ask, no, no, this is a serious question if he's asking something and we act like it's a joke. Okay, so we need to fly by the moon, which is going to be awesome. But apparently, if I test this landing gear in orbit, I will get 60,000 funds and a bit of science. Now I'm saving up for science right now to be able to get more science. If that makes any sense. So I'm a bit indecisive about which mission I want to pick up. Yep, exactly. Alright, I'm going to launch some medium landing gear into orbit with a VIP. Yeah, see, this is what we're going to do. We're going to do space tourism. Let's see, they want orbits and suborbitals, right? So these guys can go orbit, suborbital, yep, this guy can go orbit, suborbital, sure. As long as I don't want to go to the moon, it's all good, right? Now that's going to give me some rep, which is going to give me some contracts that will probably get me more money, or at least I hope so. So we have a couple of people that want to go into space. Suborbitals first. I think we have a rocket that we used for a spacewalk. Let's build things based on this. So orbits and suborbits are not a major problem in terms of power, but I don't have solar panels or any kind of power generation thing yet. What do you call somebody with no body and no nose? That is a really good question. What do you call somebody with no body and no nose? Nobody knows. Oh god, that one is really bad, but it's funny. You know what? I'm gonna build a new one just from the ground up, and it's gonna be the KSM-23. And I hope to be able to recycle that same rocket to do trips with a bunch of tourists on it. 23, the tourist trap. Use this rocket to send tourists to their deaths, or to orbit, or on suborbital flights. See if we care. All right. Why don't eggs tell jokes? Because the yolk's somewhere inside. So they need a pilot. They'd crack each other up. Ah! All right, that one's funny. So what do we dress a tourist in? How about we give him a SpaceX uniform like that one, right? But we give it, we give him a, we give him an orange. No, we give him a blue one. Yep. And Valentina, our pilot, is going to have one of these sleek orange suits. Looks like Jeb is still missing in action, so he won't be joining us right now. Let's see. Gregul Kerman. What does Gregul Kerman want to do? I should probably do a tourist that only has one destination in mind first. So let's begin with Hootery. Who's Hootery? This is Hootery. Yeah, Jeb's going to be back in about 2 gameplay hours usually. You know, sometimes when where is he? Hootery. So sometimes when Jeb, you know, has a interesting experience with what we like to call litho breaking, he likes to go out drinking for a couple hours and then come back. It's the way he deals with things. He'll be fine. Everything's gonna be fine. No, I know that he'll be back. It's a setting in the game. He's got 2 hours of timeout and then he's gonna come back. Okay, so in here we have Valentina, who is an experienced pilot. Somewhat experienced pilot, not as experienced as Jeb, but if we send her up to space so that she goes into orbit, then she will become as experienced as Jeb is. And let's start from the ground up. So when we build a rocket, we always start with how is it going to get back. For that, it needs 2 bits. It needs a heat shield, which this has on the inside, and it needs a parachute. This is to ensure that no litho breaking occurs, because litho breaking is a bad thing. So our 2 tourist people are going to be in here, or at least a pilot and a tourist. I do hope we get a 3-person module at some point so that I can take both tourists that want to go somewhere in there. Then we will make sure that we have enough Delta V to send them somewhere fun. But we need a control mechanism because there's no reaction wheels in this thing. So we will have a eek. No master ever fell out of the sky. Master or ace pilot? There we go. Inline reaction wheel, not very good, but it's gonna do the job, I think. And then we need this, I think. Where's the little ones? These are all liquid fuels for planes. What's this? This is a big tank? Yeah, it's a bigger tank. I don't want that. Okay, so this is going to be the engine that pushes it into an orbit if it needs to go into an orbit, with a vacuum rating of 2,000 meters per second. Yep, exactly. In Kung Fu, they actually say the master is the one who has failed more than the student has practiced. Let's see, or has failed more than the student has succeeded. I don't know exactly. Right, so this is not going to be a reusable rocket or a space plane or anything because we don't have the parts for that yet. Technically speaking, we may have the parts to build a spaceplane, but I can't do a spaceplane with only 30 parts, not with this tech. So these are the final 2,000 delta V's for circularizing the orbit for those people who need to go into orbit. Yes, this is true. Failure is an excellent way to learn. In fact, I'm not a fan of the concept of never try, never fail. How about we do that? There we go. Nice first stage, and that stage is going to have an engine, and it is going to be a... Oop, what's this? Important messages. Let's see. Sorry, I need to really quickly respond to something that is actually quite funny. Unfortunately, I can't repeat it because it would be violating somebody's privacy. Okay, so sorry about that. Interesting message. If you are afraid of falling, are you just gonna always crawl around? Yeah, that's another one of those inspirational messages. Yes. Sorry, the message I just got was about somebody who's going to be doing something with llamas, and I am sort of trying to make a mental picture of that. Okay, so this is not a swiveling engine, which means also I need to check if the thrust to weight ratio is good. So this thing weighs 12 and this thing has a power of 20. Okay, good, we have some power left over, but it only does 2,000. But these two combined, if I can use this to get it out of the atmosphere, then this to circularize, that ought to work. It really depends on exactly what it is you do with llamas, which is the thing that I'm currently wondering about. So this person is coming back to me now, hopefully to explain the llamas bit. No explanation. Too bad. All right. Use more. Yeah. So this is why we have this is why we have the concept of European movies in certain genres on the internet, right? They call them European, which is just a class of its own. Okay, so this is, I think, everything we really need to send this rocket into an orbital or suborbital flight with this friendly tourist aboard. And that is probably going to be a horrible, terrible shit show. Let's see. Shall we see how bad the shit show is going to get? Okay, I'm taking bets now, so anybody who's watching who wants to chip in, let me know. Is this going to work or is it going to fail? Also, Hudori only wants to go on a suborbital flight, so not a fan. Yeah, it's not a fan of that pod. Okay, you fail really bad. All right, cool, cool. Thank you for that vote of confidence. I did ask, of course. All right. In the meanwhile, I'm going to send it up now and let us pray. Pray to God. Uh, I don't even think I have any channel point stuff set up yet. I should probably turn the engine on. Yeah, we should. How about we turn the engine on? Okay. Ooh, thrust to weight is lower than I want it to be. Okay, future versions of this thing are going to have a few solid boosters just to get the thrust to weight on initial takeoff a little bit higher. Whoops. Okay, come on. Come on. Turn. Yep, Hudori seems to be laughing. He somehow thinks that this is going to be okay. I'm not going to burst his bubble too much, but I'm not entirely sure that this engine is going to take us to the edge of space yet. But the great thing is that this engine becomes more efficient, almost every engine becomes more efficient as we hit higher altitudes. But the one I'm about to fire is really weak. So this one is going to take us up to about 35k, which is not far enough. Yeah. And this reaction wheel is not powerful enough to get us up. Oh dear. Oh wait, no, it might work. Wait, it might work. Yep. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so the next version of this thing definitely is going to get yeah, this is because the air resistance here is actually low enough right now that it isn't getting in the way of the steering enough. So this might actually work. Well, I'll be a proverbial monkey's uncle. We are literally doing a suborbital flight. Because Kerbin's atmosphere is actually going to end at about 70 kilometers, which means that we are doing a suborbital hop. We might actually be landing on land again, which is a little bit more dangerous, but whatever. So I think Hudori Kerman is getting what he paid for. Let's turn the lights on. So far the pod is working, yes, but remember that everything that is working so far has not yet reached the stage where it can actually already fail. So let's see what happens later. Let's see what Hudori's world looks like on the inside. This is Valentina, the pilot, who is flying this thing, and Hudori has a really crummy view of space. Maybe we can turn the pod a bit. So See if we can just see if we can get the planet into focus a bit. No, no, maybe like that. Oh, it's really dark on the planet. There is nothing to see there. Maybe next time we do a daylight launch. Okay, so let's look at this from the outside, because now we know what he sees, and it is basically not much. We are at the top of our arc now, and we're falling back down. Now, later in the game, I will be able to go full SpaceX on this and just recover everything. I will probably be doing this. So apparently Valentina is having a great time. Valentina is laughing her butt off, and Hudori Kerman is also enjoying his time falling to his doom. I mean, falling back to Kerbin. Did I say doom? That's not exactly what I meant, I think. Anyway, another important thing that I need to look at when next I'm working on this craft is that the separation stage and the parachute stage are at the same time, which is not a good way to do this. Okay, so this thing is going to fall down fast, like stupid fast. And it may actually generate some heat. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop this thing, even though it still has a bunch of fuel in it. There we go. But I'm not deploying the chute yet because I'm still going to be accelerating first and then decelerating. I think we should be fine to open the chute when we hit about 5,000 meters. Are we going to hit land? Nope, I don't think we are. We're going to splash down about there. Okay, so chute indicator is red, meaning if you pop it now, it will get ripped off. And the ablator, which is this stuff here, is basically what is the heat shield on this thing, and it is now working to keep us from getting completely toasted. On the inside, that looks like this. Ooh, there's plasma on the outside. Ooh, we're so scared. Alright, we're already through the heavy heat layer. Didn't even lose any ablator, so we weren't going that fast. But we are still going pretty fast. So the G's are up to 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 G's of deceleration. Wow. And we're seeing the sunrise at the same time, which is nice. Keep the lights on for a while though. And we're at a steady falling speed right now. That's only going to slow down. Terminal velocity has been reached, and we are going to deploy the parachute safely when we hit about... Well, you know what? We might as well already do that. I'm going to deploy the parachute now. It's going to slow us down to a slightly more manageable falling speed. And when we hit about 1,000 meters, it is going to open and stop this thing from hitting the ocean floor. I hope Arian gets back before then, because otherwise he's going to miss this spectacular landing, which is basically not spectacular because it just looks like a ball hitting the ocean. Let's turn the lights off and pray to God, or whichever other deity we might want to pray to. So on the inside we can see that this is what they look like. Yay! Alright, so and chute opens. Good yank, up to 5 G's about. And now we are floating slowly back to the water. I'm going to time skip a bit. So, sorry, Tian Longfellow, I am afraid that this pod, ugly though it might be, has in fact served its purpose. So, yay to the Soyuz-inspired big ball of death. I forget what the actual name is, but this is what I like to call it, the big ball of death. Actually, it's the medium ball of death because there's also a bigger one with 3 people in it. There we go. 2 people survived, and his itinerary has been met. And now we are going to recover him. Oh, generally speaking, it doesn't really crash much with me, but I have actually launched it once today, and it basically flipped on its head. But that was because of the aerodynamic design of the rocket, not because of the pod itself. So I got 2,600 funds back from that. I forget what I put into it. Who the recurman is now ready for next assignment. Yeah, he's not getting an assignment from me. And I do hope that that means that his contract has been completed. Yup. So I get some rep, and I'm going to hand in some of that rep and give some money instead. So this made me about 15K. Soyuz lands on land, generally, yes, true. But in this case, I wasn't aiming for land. I was just aiming for wherever the heck I could put this thing down because there was a slight malfunction in the rocket. Luckily, the Kerbal version of it is not actually the Soyuz. It is just a ball. So I needed some more thrust to weight on the way up if I'm going to be able to achieve orbit, and I also need a little bit more delta V, but it's mostly in the thrust to weight. I cannot make this thing go any faster, so we are going to do what we always do in Kerbal Space Program when this kind of thing happens. We are going to add more boosters. So this rocket costs only 10. I got 2.5 back, so I invested 7 to get 15 or 18. Not bad. I am going to need to be able to kick these off, so that means decouplers. Stick the boosters about there. First make sure that there's actually 2 of these. Stick the boosters about there. Give them a nose cone just to make sure that they don't flop around too much. The really aerodynamic ones are not here yet. There we go. So, if I were to combine these now, that should give me enough of a kick to get out of the atmosphere at a reasonable clip as well. So the next person I put next to Valentina in this cockpit should be able to do a full orbit. Now, I believe that Gregul Kerman was the next on the list. They don't let... what? I've missed that part. Is the Dragon not allowed to do a final quick cushioning rocket break on landing? What, are they afraid they land on a baby and fry it or something? So, staging mishap, fix that. Alright. So, I'll call this the turret trap. Same thing. Right, so I think the next one on the list would be Rodian. Rodian wants suborbital and orbit. Now, I'm assuming that if I orbit, I also get suborbital because I go up and then come back down again. This is what I hope. So, Rodian gets a blue SpaceX suit and is going to go right in there next to Valentina, who is going to clock up some more pilot hours. I'd give another pilot the opportunity as well, but I can't do that because the other pilot is currently missing in action and they are forking expensive to recruit. Let's see if this design works better. Hey Arian, sorry man, you missed the landing. It was spectacular, wasn't it guys? Did I mention good evening, Jeff, by the way? I didn't even tell you hi. Let's see. Okay, so full burn for just a second. I got way more TWR now, so this ought to launch me into the sky. Rodion is our backseater right now. He is going to experience a wonderful suborbital thing. Huh. Didn't the Orion also have a braking engine? Just for cushioning the landing? Or was that only the Soyuz? I forget. Alright, here goes. Full power. Go. Yeah, that's what we want. 3G launch. So, just turned off the main engine just to conserve a bit of fuel. Boosting it back up now. It goes to... Ooh. Okay, so this ball on the end of this rocket is aerodynamically unstable, making this thing a rather unpleasant thing to fly. And especially since I'm not using a stick, but I'm just using my keyboard, which is terrible. Rodion just started clapping or dancing or whatever, so Rodion's having a good time. This is good. Let's see what the instruments say. Alright, so I'm doing a standard trunk/service module. Oh, yeah. So I'm doing a standard orbital this time. So just seeing how far we get with this first boost. I'm hoping that by the time we run out of fuel on this first booster, we are going to have enough fuel on the second one. Slightly improved, yep. Slightly improved. Actually, very much improved. I am quite satisfied with the performance of this rocket. I think it actually is going to kick us out of the atmosphere on this first booster exactly the way I would like it to. There we go. Alright, now to overcome air resistance a little bit, I'm going to keep the heavy part of the rocket on the back for a bit more. And we're about out of thick air now, so I'm going to drop this. I'm going to totally go China and drop the back of the rocket just back on the planet. What's happening? Why is it not working? Have a good night, Arian. Oh, okay, good. That was a problem. Now, let's quickly plan our circularization burn so that we can just maneuver it the way we want it to. Should be about... How much is that? Oh yeah, this is great. 84 by 122. We can do even less. 85 by 113. There. 81 by 89. That's a clean orbit. Thanks, Arian. Probably going to be fine. Probably. I can never totally guarantee that, unfortunately. So, Valentina, keep that pointed at the blue dot, and then let's fire the booster. Yep, the suborbital already counts as a suborbital. That's good. It means I just need to take those tourists, put them on a rocket, send them into orbit, take them back home. We are almost there. Oops, overshot it by about 4 meters, but that makes it still a 77 by 97 kilometer orbit, which is still an actual orbit. Rodion is going to be super satisfied. Now that means I need to make sure that I brake back and land back over here, which means I need to brake about there, I think. There, that ought to work. And if that overshoots, we'll see. See if we can land as close to Kerbal Space Center as we can, preferably on the VAB. I've accidentally landed on the VAB once today, which was actually funny. Alright, so let's warp to about here. See if we need to update the landing profile at all. Alright, so KSC is now farther away. See, it's a good thing I checked this. So we need to do that. We just need a little bit more. Don't want to hit the mountains. Okay, so we have a 24-second burn coming up. We need to make sure that we burn retrograde, obviously. And we start burning at T-minus 12, which is now. And this is not a precision burn, so slight undershoot or overshoot shouldn't be an issue. And I think we're going to land very close to the KSC, at least close enough. So we can now jump this, turn off the SAS, and wait for fate to take us where we're going. How are we doing? Probably going to land on land somewhere about here. We'll see. Okay, so clearly before I send anything to the moon, I need to make sure that I get some kind of a power production facility in my craft, which means I need to have an RTG or solar panels Okay, we're gonna land at least on the right side of the mountains. Let's see what this is doing to our... Oh, we might actually land on the KSC. We'll see. See what Rodian is seeing. Ooh, it's plasma. Ooh, it's so scary. At least we're slowing down. You mean the one where they docked an Apollo and a Soyuz together? Using a makeshift weird tunnel docking system? I thought that one was pretty cool too. But I'm going to go with Apollo 13's fatal accident that actually killed nobody. Just mostly because it was... I mean, I can only imagine the engineers who were troubleshooting from the ground and who are coming up with ways for these guys to save themselves using only the stuff they had on board that ship. I have the feeling that that would have been an amazing project to be a part of. Okay, so this is going to be the second splashdown. Unfortunately, I was hoping to land it on the ground. Second splashdown of the medium-sized ball of death. Hopefully netting me another bunch of funds and making Rodian Kerman really happy. Thereby also giving me a lot of reputation, which will then be turned into more expensive missions. And opening the chute, which means we are braking, and we have a lot of distance to cover on the way down, so I'm going to time warp a bit. Now, like Arian said earlier, it is getting a bit late. It is time for bed. I have work tomorrow, so I need to make sure that I am fit and ready for that. Thank you for the follow, TN Longfellow. I am going to be signing off as soon as we get Rodian Kerman back to the Kerbal Space Center and get his money. Oops. Honestly, I think that killing the later Apollo missions and all the projects that Werner von Braun had come up with was mostly a political issue. I don't think it was about Apollo 13 at all, in all honesty. Then again, I can't actually look into the minds of people back then. This may be the reason they gave for it. Okay, so how much did we spend on this thing? 10K or so? Got pretty much back. And we have 1-star tourists now. Let's see if that netted us any more missions. Yeah. Arby wants to go, Arbry, sorry, wants to go on a suborbital run. I'm just going to do all these tourist missions. It's all good. So I still have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tourists to go. And I need to test a few things in space. So next mission, I'm actually sending a medium landing gear along so that we can do 60K in one mission plus the VIP, and it needs to be in orbit, so we're going to send one of these or one of these. So that's it for tonight. I had fun. I hope you had fun too, and I will hopefully see you again sometime later this week, for example tomorrow evening or the night after. I'm usually online from 8 to 10, sometimes 11-ish on every day except Friday and Saturday, and we'll see if that happens again tomorrow. Sometimes I don't appear. If I don't, it's not because I don't like you, it's because that life gets in the way. For now, have an amazing evening. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.